a lot of these things, like you really feel the change and you feel like when we both like even thought about fear, we were both like, what could be good about fear? And then we started thinking about it and we like felt this like full body shift of like, oh, it actually makes a lot of sense that there are a lot of positives or maybe silver linings of fear. But the fear is okay. Like it's not bad that I fear what's next, it's okay to have those like even like little thoughts of fear. It's what's pushing me forward almost.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? Like maybe recognizing that fear is the energy to notice, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, I'm afraid to give this talk. I should probably do it because it's maybe if I wasn't afraid, maybe it wouldn't be worth it or right. So it can be a sign that there's something, do it, you know. Oh,
Yeah, or almost like
you fear the move, go for it.
yeah, like a little signal like, oh, I'm afraid. Like, what do I know about this? Or like, what is actually real about this? Like it almost like to shift you into the awareness. It's really, that's cool. I'm definitely gonna take this off of this. I think it's really cool.
One day I'll have to do it in class. I'm afraid to do the out loud.
You are? Are you
Yeah,
really? Well, you know
yeah.
what I always recommend to people when they say that's me, you're not alone, first of all, but I would always recommend practice it in your car.
Hmm, it's a good idea.
Yeah, and just hear yourself doing it because, and I actually learned, I was reading a book recently about it, but it starts in the back of your throat and it comes to the front of your mouth. And so even when you feel it travel, it's cool.
Hmm.
And you can be really loud.
I can be. This is, I think, one of the reasons why I fear it is because my like my vocal cords are like a tube amp. I don't know if that makes sense, but like a tube amplifier. You can't have on a low
Mm.
volume. It like cracks in and out. It's like it doesn't. You got to turn the volume all the way up, and then it's like if I'm at a concert, I can belt out a yell that's really really loud. But I have a hard time, with like a whisper or something that's like I feel like I would have to like take up the whole entire room, like be the Mr.
Got to get rid of those perceptions. It's interesting. I, because whenever there's a ohm in class that's really loud, I'm like, ugh, it just like sounds like a ringing bell, like one of those. Just that's how I end and start my meditations. Like I like that, like full body encapsulating like noise. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really unique to be able to be so loud. I think people struggle with the opposite of like even finishing the ohm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so scary. What's gonna happen when I finally get over that fear? That's the fun part.
I graduated undergrad in 2020 with a degree in psychology of children. And my plan at the time was to go, I had an internship to be a child life specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and COVID happened halfway through my senior year. And so my internship got canceled, which means that my degree got canceled. So I
Wow.
could still get a degree, but I had to change my path. I couldn't be a child life specialist anymore because that's like a very important part of that degree is the internship.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, what am I going to do? Like I had no there the degree of psychology of children is sort of it needs a master's in order for it to really hold any ground. So I just knew I always wanted to move and didn't really know what I was going to do. So I just picked Raleigh and I just moved. I didn't really have any plan. I didn't have I had money for my down payment and for the month's rent that I was living in the apartment. I didn't have the following month's rent. I didn't have a
Wow.
car. I sold my car and I came down because my car was in bad shape. Yeah, I don't know. I just really, it was so funny when I think about it because I was like, I just really had, when you're like younger and you just like really think nothing bad's gonna happen to you and you're like, that'll work out. Like everything that I had experienced, it was so funny. Um, and I just became a nanny because it paid really good. And one of the kids that I nannied had autism. And that was one of my backup plans. I was like, maybe I'll go and work with children with autism. And I stayed with them for 6 years. So I'm actually leaving them in May when I'm gonna like launch into my business and my life in a really big way, but it's like golden handcuffs because I just didn't want to leave because that security that I've had with them this whole time has been, I mean, I'll never, I love it. I love them. I love everything about it. It's been awesome. So, yeah. And coaching fell into my lap really serendipitously. I had a friend of a friend whose mom was a coach, and I would go over to that house, the friend of the friend's house, and I would like her office was like right in the doorway. And every time I would go over there, I would go and I would sit with her and just like ask her so many questions. And months later, she was starting a coaching school and was like, hey, do you want to come and do this? And I was just like, what else? I mean, yeah, sure. What else am I going to do? And then I didn't really know what coaching was so much. But as soon as I learned about coaching, I was like, this is where the magic is. It was just so cool. Um, it's just like everything that I liked about psych, but the just I mean, the ICF just does it so well. Like the people are whole and creative all on their own. And I feel like psych is a little bit more, it's just different. It's more
Mhm.
past. It's less like, okay, let's go around. I mean, you know all about coaching. And I just was like, this is amazing. I just loved it. And so I just fell in love with it so fast. It was cool.
Wow. I want to hear more about that, but I want to go back for a minute. So when you're, finishing up school and not able to complete the internship, what part of the world were you in? Like what part of the country were you in at that
New
time?
York.
In New York, New York State?
Yeah, upstate New York. Do you know New York at all?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up in Rutherford, New Jersey, and um, I've got family that are, upstate like Rockland County, but then, you know, just traveling and whatnot. I've been through the state a lot. We're going to be at the New York Finger Lakes for a
Mm,
month
that'll be nice.
later this year. Yeah, really excited about that.
I'm from Saratoga specifically. Do you know?
Okay, so
Not
yeah.
far from the Adirondacks, which
Hmm.
is its own greatness.
Yeah, we've talked about this because the horses.
Oh yeah, everyone always says that.
I've been to
Yeah.
Saratoga. I've seen the horse. It's like such a cool spot. Um, there was a little sandwich spot on the corner that was just like amazing, and being on the grounds um,
Mhm.
and watching the horses. That was a wonderful time. So you grew up there. You went to school in that neck of the woods.
Did school in Utica, which is over by Syracuse more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I gotta go somewhere farther away than this.
And have you ever been to Raleigh? No. Yeah, never been to Raleigh. Something must have, like, what put it on the map for you? Yeah,
Well,
this is a crazy choice. I'm gonna like go to a city I've never been to with 1 month's rent.
yeah, I actually, when I picked the spot on the map, I picked Wilmington,
Okay.
and because of a lot of reasons, but the one that really sticks with me is One Tree Hill, the show.
Hmm.
I loved the scene of that show. I don't even think it was actually filmed in Wilmington, but it just was like, if that's what Wilmington's like, I love it. And I was just like, I can't move to the beach with no plan. I will just become a beach person, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I just knew that I had all this drive still in me to like go and serve.
Hmm.
the people somehow. And I just was like, if I go to the beach, I'm just going to be on the beach every day. And I don't even know. I'll probably find a bar job. Like, I don't know what would have happened.
Hmm.
It's
Isn't it
interesting.
cool? Like little things like a TV show, how much impact that kind of stuff has on our lives when we look back on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you see as the primary difference between therapy and coaching?
Hmm. Yeah. Have you heard of the reference of an onion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I feel
Yeah.
like it just, I mean, from what I learned in school, I think that coaching is just like when you have somebody and you're thinking like, you're like, "Oh, I understand all of these things. I
Mhm.
understand that maybe I have this awareness and it's just like you have all these kind of tools, but you're like, what do I do with them? What do I do with
Mhm.
them? How do I even do that? I have a hard time with accountability, and it's just like a way forward. And I feel like therapy, I mean, I have both a therapist and a coach. I think
Mhm.
that they are beautiful in tandem.
Mhm.
And therapy is just so much more, I feel like an anchoring and a deeper dive into like why I am the way I am and understanding patterns and in such a different way.
Mhm. So is therapy like the peeling away of the onion to find out
Yeah.
what's at the core,
Hmm.
and then coaching is what do you want to do with the onion? What do you want to
It's
cook
like
with the onion?
identifying the onion and walking around the onion. It's
Walking
like, I
around the
see
onion.
you, onion. I'm gonna go over here.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I know the therapy part of the onion, but I didn't hear the coaching side of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think maybe I might have been naturally drawn to it before I knew what it was, like even as a child, like I feel like my friends were my coaches, and I say that because it's one memory I have of being a little kid who never wore shorts, and I was like really shy, and I didn't go on amusement park rides, and I was just like this super shy kind of morose kid, and I had a group of friends, and I was in high school, and we were going through a photo album, and the photo album was sort of like the therapy piece. We found a photograph of me as a little child going through this ridiculous haircutting experience where it's just a silly story. It's like my mom was sick and couldn't ever take me to get my hair cut. I got long, curly, like beautiful curly locks. Like, and I looked like a little girl. Um, and so I was really young, like I don't know, three maybe. And my dad's like, "That's it, I'm taking this kid to the barber." And there's a before shot of me like fully clothed, I've got clothes on and I'm at the barber shop and I look like a happy kid and I got this huge mop of hair. And then there's an after photo of me like stripped down to my underwear with my head shaved off, and I look like I'm like just sad. Um, and it brought back this flood of memories that was like, oh, you were afraid of the buzzer. It hurt. It was like getting caught in my curly hair and like ripping my hair. I got really thick hair, so it was like painful. For whatever reason, my dad and the barber decided that it would be a good idea to like strip my clothes off and like tie me down to the chair. But the thing is, like as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's why I don't like to, like that's why, all this stuff. And then my friends were like, let's get out of, let's go to Great Adventure, like you're wearing shorts and we're going to Great Adventure and we're gonna go on the amusement park rides and we're gonna do all these crazy things and I felt like, understanding it is one thing, but then breaking free and moving forward and being like, okay, now that I know what that is, I can just like not have to be bound by that anymore. And my friends were like my coaches, if that makes any sense. So that's kind of the way that I think of the difference between therapy and coaching, figuring out that thing that happened, but then, putting a new life plan into practice. I'm going to be a person who wears shorts and is outgoing and happy again.
And the support of your friends too. That's so cool that they were like, okay, yeah, but let's go do this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's enough of this no going on amusement park rides and not wearing shorts business, Andrew. Like we're we're gonna take care of this thing. Yeah. So cool. Wow. And so now you have this friend they started where they when you said starting the coaching school, were they like starting a school or were they starting going to school? Like tell me about that.
Yeah, she had her own practice for a long time and she tells the story really cool. The way that she felt like she got like this message that she was supposed to teach. She was involved in a school and just didn't really feel totally aligned with a lot of the parts of the school. She was just she saw a lot of the holes and was just felt really called to fill them. And she was like, one day she just was like, I think I need to do this. And then it just came together all so quickly as it does when it's on purpose. And it, she just wanted to start her own school and she wanted to start with a small cohort and she wanted to start with people who she knew would give her big feedback
Hmm.
and to be able to like change the school and modify it. And so she did a lot of like selecting and like invitations for like, hey, do you want to come be a part of this
Hmm.
for the people? And I just was fortunate enough to be one of those people. So I got to go through the first round of it.
Hmm.
And I don't know all of the details of the ICF and like the things that you need to do to develop the school, but I know that one of the main things that you need is a model to coach around. And I think her model is so cool. So I love it. And you can either, when you coach on your own, you can take that with you from school and like continue that model, or you can like find a different one.
Hmm. Well,
Like,
tell me about the model. Tell me about her model.
yeah, so her model is it goes first awareness at the top. And so you like develop some sort of awareness, whatever you want to talk about, what's the story you've been telling yourself, what's the thing, like what's the whatever's in the center. And then you learn the perception. Okay, so what do I feel about this? What is the emotion that comes up when I think about this? What do I value about this? What limited belief do I have about this story that I'm like holding on to it still? And then after you kind of establish a sense of perception, then you go to regulation. And regulation is like, okay, well, how does that feel to actually think about that in my body, that story that I've been telling myself, or that thing that I've been hanging on to, or even like, how does it feel to think about the opposite?
Mm,
And then once you get into regulation and you get it into your body, then you can go to resilience. Resilience is that piece of like the magic coaching and like where do you go from here? What is going to be your baby steps? What's an action step that we can take to move forward through whatever this thing is?
hmm.
And the whole time it's obviously like trust is a really important piece of this model um, between you and coach and you and yourself and even the things that you're saying and all of that. So it's really cool. It's cool to see it just flows so naturally. Even to explain it is just so easy because you're like, yeah. That makes sense. You could probably think of something that you're like could go through that really quick in your head.
Wow. And so this school took a long time to go through, right? So tell me about like what the curriculum was like and how many I know you had to do like a lot of pro bono hours and all that stuff. So what was that experience like?
Yeah. The school itself, I think, was over the course of 3 months.
Hmm.
So it was pretty fast. And there was three in-person weekends, and those were like jam-packed with learning. And we coached the very first time, which is just so cool to think about. Like, even if like we didn't really have a lot of the tools, but like you have to just do it right away and you have to like be uncomfortable
Hmm.
and like feel what it feels like to like listen and only listen and not have an opinion like just listen and so that's really cool. And then in the in between there was things that we had to do to work in between, but most of that active learning was in those weekends. And then there was three books that we had to read. I thought that we had to read them all before. I'm a big student. So I went ahead and read all of the books before and highlighted them all and took notes on them all and was like really prepared on the first weekend. And then they were like, okay, now read the first four chapters. I was like, oh, okay, I'll read them again. And so I read them again. And then the hours, so once you finish school, you don't get your ICF credential right away. You do get, um, it was an emotional mindset mastery program. So I did
Hmm.
get a certificate in emotional mindset mastery, which was really cool.
Hmm.
And then you have to find people yourself. Yeah, pro bono hours. 20 of the hours are allowed to be pro bono or free, and then the whole 80 rest of the hours have to be paid.
Oh my.
So, and there's no like, it has to be paid this amount. It could be $5, it could be $1.
Hmm.
It's just like that exchange of currency.
Hmm.
So, yeah, which I am at, I think, 87 hours to be credentialed. So I'm really close. It's been a long like because then yoga came in between all of that and put that on the back burner for a little bit. So it's been a whole lot of learning this past couple of years.
That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of hours to get credential. Tell me about the credential. So what is ICF and what is the credential?
Yeah, the International Coaching Federation
Okay.
is the like overhead big dog of coaching.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of coaches out there don't have the ICF credential, and that's okay. But there's different kind of pockets, but I think it's cool to know that fact about the ICF credentials because then
Hmm.
when you're looking for a coach, you can keep an eye out for that and understand like the credentialing process.
Hmm.
Um, Sort of, there is also an exam you have to take. So like once you finish the hours, you have to take the exam
Hmm.
to submit a video and audio of yourself coaching to your teacher for them to approve it.
Hmm.
And then you get credentialed. And the credential, like I said, is just like a badge. It's
Yeah.
like I actually did this thing. And then you have to maintain the credential and you have to do continued education
Hmm.
and to keep it up.
Yeah, that's great. This was something that I didn't know anything about. And it wasn't until Abby started her program. So she's a board certified nurse coach.
Mhm.
And it's an interesting designation because these are not coaches for nurses, but rather like life coaches who nursing is the prerequisite. But she had to do a similar kind of a situation where she went to a school, had to take an exam, had to do the pro bono hours, and then and to get this board certification. I thought about it. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting because the world of coaching is like the wild, wild west, right? I mean, anybody, people call me a coach.
Mhm.
I've been called a coach, my whole life. And people come and, I get paid for my coaching. But I'm not board certified. I've got no board certification. I've got a PhD, but that's not just because you have a PhD in something doesn't mean you're qualified to coach.
Mhm.
So it was really interesting for me to realize as she was going through her certification that wow, this is something that anybody who's out there looking for a coach should be asking about what program did you go to? What school did you go to? Right? What certification do you have? Because not everybody is able to say that. So you put all that time and effort into it. I think it's important for people to know, that that's part of what you want to do when you're looking for a coach is to look at what the training was. So that's really, really cool so her school is like meets the requirements of the ICF, and then you can then go do the ICF. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's similar to the world that I saw Abby in, like there's different schools you could go to that satisfy all the requirements for the board certification for these nurses. So you can choose different schools and seek those credentials. Really neat.
Probably similar in the like similar curriculum, but a different, they probably all have their own sort of like framework, which
Yeah.
is cool to even think about when you're going to go to school to know like what kinds of different, look at the different programs. I mean, this is true for like all school, right? Like
Yeah.
even like more than coaching and all of these things, like to actually know that like it's everyone teaches differently and it's cool to know which one feels best for you.
hmm Yeah. And I'm a big fan. I gotta say, like, honestly, anything that anybody is excellent at, I feel like they have a coach, right? I mean, like, if you're gonna be, the Masters was here pretty recently, right? So there's like the top golfers in the world are at the Masters playing golf, and every one of them has a golf coach, right? They're not like self-coached at what they're the greatest in the world at. And when Abby was going through her program, I thought, well, I want to put my money where my mouth is and go and seek coaching to experience it while she's going through it, so I can see it not only from knowing the person going through it, but experiencing it at the same time. And as I
Mhm.
was going through it, I realized like, wow, if I want to be great at like living my life, then having a life coach makes a whole lot of sense because this is, people are want to be winning. There's all this like I see so much stuff about winning at what, winning at business, winning at making a whole bunch of money, winning at I don't know, social media, winning at whatever. And I'm like, I want to win at happiness. I want to win at like peace of mind. That's where I want to win at. So I think I'm going to choose my coach in that arena. Uh,
Yeah, it's so interesting. That is so cool that you said that. I mean, I like to start all of like, I mean, I totally, coaching is just awesome. And it's just so crazy that we like don't have a coach in these things. And the way I start with all of my clients is I start with a values assessment and a values activity to like really get curious and understand like, okay, but what do you really value? And it sounds a lot like what you sought out in coaching, like, but I want to be good at life and like understanding like even what makes me happy. And I think it's so cool.
yeah, yeah, that's really cool that you go through that. And I don't know if it's the day and age that we live in, or what is it about school, like school, growing up and going to school, or we live in a society, I think, that doesn't have, there's not much apprenticeship anymore, and school is, I don't know, it's just like a knowledge center that's just, there's something missing at school that doesn't feel like you're getting I don't know, I felt like I wasn't getting the kind of mentorship that I needed. I mean, when I look at getting my PhD, there were professors that I call, like my mentors, right? And then through my professional career, I've sought out people that I call mentor, that um, like I said, my friends were like my coaches as a kid, like he almost my coaches, athletic coaches, right? Like I feel like if I look at my son, probably some of the most meaningful people in his life has been his athletic coaches, so I don't know, we're just in an interesting time where as a young professional, especially a young professional, um, in the world of work from anywhere and all that, it just feels like there's that that apprenticeship, that mentorship. It's really hard to come by, you know. And so having a coach, I think, is if you don't have another place for it, it's a great investment for yourself. I know it was a great investment for myself when I did it.
Why do you think? Do you think it's because people aren't seeking out the guidance, or do you think it's the side of the coach that it's not being provided?
Oh, I don't. I think it's like just super complex societal situations. I mean, just super complex. If you just roll back the clock 100 years or whatever, and I think about so my grandfather was born in 1898, and if I try to look at his life and his career and then the impact that he had on his family, there's just a lot of apprenticeship and mentorship. There's a lot of, working for his older brothers in a Nickelodeon movie theater. He started a union in New York City, the Local 52 Motion Picture Studio Mechanics. So when I grew up as a prop and a set dresser on TV shows and movies in New York City, and
Oh.
that was because of my grandfather who was born in the 1800s, like impacted someone who was born in I was born in 1972, right? So like that impact that had, but that world was like I felt like it was a world of apprenticeship. You grew up in it, you were around it. You kind of got coached up in how to do it. You learned the ropes.
Hmm.
Um, and so when I think about that was that was a career direction I could have gone in. I didn't, I chose to do other things. Um, but you contrast that with, the world that we live in right now, which, I see kids graduating from college and they're getting hired but not relocated. They're just like working from their apartment
Hmm.
for some company in some other state and they barely interact with, their their coworkers, much less have some type of, mentorship coming from the work environment.
Yeah.
But even school, like the way that school looks, it's like, I don't know, I've got a really romantic view of school, like a Dead Poets Society view of school,
Mhm.
where you got like a Robin Williams sitting in a classroom and this like discussion that's happening and like everyone is learning together. And I was a college professor and, I kind of took I took the position of a coach at the front of the classroom. I wasn't like, I am all knowing and I'm going to impart my wisdom upon you, students. It was more like, and I was really lucky. I taught a class called Senior Design at NC State. So it was all for seniors in biomedical engineering. And my idea was, hey, you've been in school for 16 years. How about I'm going to learn more from them than I can possibly teach them. They've got 16 years worth of brand new, freshly packed knowledge. If any test that, from a knowledge perspective, I thought like any test that would be handed to all of us, I'd fail and they'd pass.
Hmm.
You know, Forget about my credentials, I'd fail the test, right? And I thought this is my opportunity to help them become who they're going to be, like figure out who you are and what you want to be and have like a personal mission and vision for your life and your future. And it was like drawing this out of the students, but I tried to turn my classroom into a family, into that sort of romantic view of what I had as education. So I I think, I there's probably some former student of mine listening to this. I would hope that they would, think of Andrew or Dr. DiMeo as their mentor. If they call me up sometimes and they ask me for life advice, or they call me out to coffee and they ask me for life advice. And it's when they do it, I think they know that I don't have any answer. They're right, they're not looking for an answer. They're looking for that coaching as more of a collaborative thing. But I just
Yeah.
don't know that that is the norm. We can point to a teacher here
Um,
and there, but
yeah, I mean, what this is bringing up for me, like the whole time, all of it, and like every single avenue that you talked about, it's like the way that, and this is maybe an assumption, but the way that our culture just praises that hyper independence, even like as a teacher and like knowing things and like I know all the things and I've got it all together. And then like you need to know all the things as a student in your individual project. And it's just like you're going to get this job and you're going to work from home in your house all by yourself. And it's just, I feel like it's just in every area. This just
Mhm,
like you have to be able to do it on your own kind of a philosophy. And I don't know where it came from, but I feel like there's people and there's holes that are, and even like seeking podcasts and listening to things, it's like we want the guidance
mhm,
and the connection, but it's like we've got to create more funnels for it. I think that it sounds really like a cool classroom to be a part of. And I love the Poet Society movie. When I watched it, I just was like, I wish my school was like that. So it's so cool that you tried to like create that in your classroom.
yeah, and honestly, it's what I'm trying to create here on this
Mm.
podcast. I could share it with a group of 30 kids or 50 or 80 or however we're met, in a class at a time, and I can do it one-on-one in my mentoring and my business advising. But to have a forum where maybe more people could hear it, and
Yeah.
you said something that struck me too about the sort of the always being right. Like not only the independence in doing it alone, but like having the answer.
Mm.
And that's a thing where I feel like I spent a significant amount of time with the students on this topic of what is the one right. There is no one right answer to anything. And that's where, yeah, and that could be a philosophical circle where is that a right answer? But without getting into the philosophical circle, I come from a background of science. I studied physics and I got my PhDs in biomedical engineering, and I would ask the students questions that they learned in math and science through their whole education. and there's always one answer, like do two parallel lines intersect? No, they don't. Um, and 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 I'll be like, yeah, but which math are you referring to? Because in spherical geometry, they do intersect, you know? So it's like, does 2 plus 2 equal 4? It's like, well, it depends, because if it's 2 centimeters plus 2 inches, it equals four of nothing. Um, the answer is some weird number that I'm not going to try to figure out right now on the podcast. It's just that, you know, most answers are kind of like it depends, like what's the color of a banana? I don't know, it kind of depends. And then all of science is theory, like Einstein died not having a unified, you know, concept of the universe, right? It's like it's all these unknown things, and people talk things about like fact, like, oh, the Big Bang happened in this, this many billion years, it's like the Big Bang is a theory, right? Right. What is light? Wave theory and particle theory. It's like these are theories. Like we can make light useful, but we really don't know what it is yet, and so I spent a lot of time trying to break down the smartest people that I know, like the most intelligent people that I've ever met, are the ones that don't know the actual answer. They're like, well, some people see it this way, the particle physicists see it this way, the classical physicists see it this other way, and I'm kind of like I utilize one in one case and utilize the other in the other case, but we really don't know what for sure what it is. Um, and so that whole thing too, I feel like education has been who can figure out the one right answer the fastest,
Yeah.
which computers are great at.
That can be layered over just such common concepts too, or even like, what should I, when I was moving here, like where should I move? What should I do? And it's like, what do you want to do? Or like what feels right? And it's just like when you go to a friend for advice and they're like, well, I think you have to break up with him because this one thing happened and that's just the truth. And it's so cool to just layer over instead this curiosity and this openness and just we don't really know. We're figuring it out and we all kind of have our own. I mean, I don't, it comes from yoga, I think, and from coaching, but like the
Mm.
concept of the inner knowing and that inner compass, like our compass isn't in our pockets, it's in our hearts. And it's like, but where do you want to go? You have to lean in and slow down and then think about it and not tell people what to do, but ask them what they want to do. I think it's cool to layer it from school to like, what are we doing every day?
Yeah, talk more about yoga. So your yoga practice, but then you've brought like some of your yoga concepts into stillness too. So I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. Um, I've been practicing yoga for a super long time. I hurt my back really bad when I was in high school, and my coach at the time, actually, my sports coach, brought me to her yoga classes with her as a part of my recovery.
Hmm.
And I just always wanted to be the fastest and the quickest and like all of these things. And yoga was just the space where it was like, no, it's safe to rest. And that was something I never knew. And as soon as I found it, I was like, this is so, I just loved it from the beginning. And I've just forever, it's been my plan forever and ever to be a yoga teacher at some point. And I just wanted to find the right avenue and the right place do it and learn how to be a yoga teacher somewhere that felt really aligned with me.
Mhm.
And obviously, Homebody, the yoga studio I just opened up with Emily, my friend. We did our first teacher training program, and I graduated from the first program. So I am going to start teaching really soon. I'm really excited.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, I'm excited. And it's been really cool to see how these two, like coaching and yoga, have like come together in my life. My business is called Yoga Off Mat, because it's just like there's so much of yoga. And even when you go to a studio, oftentimes there's a theme in class or something that the instructor says that lands really well in the classroom. And you can bring it throughout the whole time on your mat. And it's just so much power if you can learn how to harness all of the things, the breath work. Let me learn how to be calm in the situation where it's really hard. Let me try to anchor myself in where my feet are. Let me think about not harming myself or being true. All of these like concepts of yoga and to bring those off of your mat and into your life, I think is just such a cool translation. And it's like what it's all about when you learn about yoga philosophy and all of that is a whole other thing. But so I try to do that in coaching and I try to bring just that same container of the environment of what yoga is into the coaching environment and translate that into like, okay, let's bring all these messages into your life. You don't have to practice yoga to do coaching with me, of course, but I think
Mhm.
it's really cool to understand those concepts and how they can be brought into life.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I started going to yoga. It's been over 10 years now, but Abby took me to a class at the YMCA and I thought it was like it was really hard, like physically difficult, physically demanding. I loved it because of the stretch. Like I felt like my body was stretching
Hmm.
and it felt like it was reducing my pain. So I just kept on going back because I enjoyed it. Um, I don't know that I have like a date or a time where it hit me that it was the mental part of it and I'll say spiritual, but it's not, it's spiritual, but it's whatever, the mindfulness part of it, the non-physical part of it, or what I learned by doing it. Um, it just started to unfold, and now all the things that I've been teaching and practicing in my own, like in my classroom, started to emerge in yoga as a as like a demonstration of a concept. It's especially things that have to do with like non-duality or paradox or opposites or whatever. It's like I'm I'm uh, we're gonna play the whole mind game later if you're into it.
Of course.
But that whole game is about like taking two opposite things and trying to maximize both at the same time. And I felt like I was reading it everywhere. It was resonating as a kid. I read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and it's like, oh yeah, it's the pieces and it's the whole thing, like it resonated. There was a a book by Jim Collins. I think it's either Good to Great or Great by Choice. One of the Jim Collins books. He introduces this theory called the genius of the and. When you A and D, when you see two opposites, you try to maximize both. And it's like, yeah, this stuff resonates. It's really cool. It makes sense, but I didn't know how to practice it. I didn't know how to actually do it, other than to I would coach other people to do it. I'd be like, you should, when you see these two things, do both or whatever. Because it felt right, it looked right, But it wasn't until being in yoga that I was like, oh, this is what it feels like to be like all the way engaged and completely relaxed at the same time. Or this is what it feels like to reach something that you can't reach by going in the opposite direction. Like it's like I'm trying to get my hand to that spot, but if I just like go backwards, I get there. It's like that doesn't it doesn't even make sense, but it does. And then it just manifests itself in the yoga studio. So it's
Your story of how it like all the pieces came together, I feel like is more common than anybody else's. Is like you just kind of keep going, and then all of a sudden you notice over time, you're like, oh, I think I feel a little calmer. Just like, however the shift happens, it's cool to realize that like it manifests however it's going to when it shows up. It's it's just when you spend enough time doing this thing in your body, it's gonna stay with you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just go, just keep going.
Yeah.
You don't have to understand it, just like put yourself in that environment. I don't know. I feel like it's like learning a language by being immersed in by growing up. Like nobody taught us how to speak English. We just grew up and it happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, whatever speaking yoga is happened just by going and continuing to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking yoga, I like that. That sounds it's funny because a lot of the people in the studio, a lot of people will be like, well, I don't know the names of the postures. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, well, just look around, just like do what the people around you are doing. And it's funny. And of course, like, it's worrying about yourself and your body isn't going to look exactly like theirs, but there's also just this like community element of doing it in the studio with the other people that it's like, no, it's looking around at the people is okay. Like you're all doing this thing and you're connected and it's safe and you're not looking at them to judge them or to think anything of them, but like they're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with my body? Oh, if foot goes there, okay, and the instructor's gonna help you and get you there more, but I just think there's something so awesome about being in the studio and being with other people who maybe are at a different place, maybe the same place as you, all just figuring it out.
Yeah. Oh man. I used to be the kind of I was shy, and yeah, I'm shy,
Mhm.
and I would hide myself in like the furthest backest corner. I'd try to like be the most unseen person in the room, and I'm like I've been doing it for a while, but I'm not exactly the most graceful person on on the planet. I'm like built like Gru from Despicable Me. I got like a big top and skinny legs, and I'm not the most graceful dude. And and so I would hide because I didn't want necessarily to be seen. But when you're in one of those corners, you're s- you're staring at a wall sometimes, and even I don't know what the instruction is. Like I don't, you get turned around, you get mixed up, like you don't know what's happening. And so it wasn't until more recently that I was like, nobody cares what I look like. I'm gonna stick myself into the direct center. I like sit in the most dead center spot in the studio because I want to be able to, no matter what direction we're facing, I can see somebody,
Mhm.
and then I can be like, oh, that's what this move is. And I've been doing it a really long time too, right? So um, that might be great advice for a beginner. Just don't worry about what people think of you. Stick yourself right in the middle so you can see everybody.
Was it hard? Like, do you remember like putting your mat in the middle and like what kind of that felt like the first couple times?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I still every now and then I'm self-conscious about it, you know. Um, because it feels like I want to be seen, but the reality is I want to see.
Mm,
Um, so
mm.
yeah, every now and then I'm like,
Really cool. That's
yeah,
a cool sentence. It's like you think you want to be seen, but you just want to see. I think that's really cool to just, you never know why people are doing what they're doing. It's just, that's really cool.
yeah, I like how that line came too. We'll clip that one. That's going to be a short.
Yeah, that's cool.
Um, so do a lot of the shows people read something or they have something that they want to share? No requirement to do that, but do you have anything that you want to like read or share, show, a piece of art or anything? I mean, yeah, and you don't have to do that. You can just say, no, I don't have anything.
I don't know if I have anything to share. I don't have a much art. I am in the middle of, we're doing a 40-day program at the studio. And basically, what the 40 days is, it's like we're calling it practice, community, and growth. And so it's like a really immersive 40 days with a bunch of people. And I'm co-leading it. And it's one of the first things that I've co-led at the studio. And there's small groups, and we're going through the yamas and the niyamas. And just this morning, I was journaling, because I'm going through it too, because I think there's a lot of value in. Obviously, I made the program, but to be paced with the people in the program, I want to be able to be fully immersed in it. So I'm going through it too and answering the questions myself. And um, the first yama that we're talking about is ahimsa, which means nonviolence. And I just was journaling the answers to the questions this morning, and it's interesting when you think about non-harming. And what was coming up for me, I was thinking about like I work really hard to not be harmful outwards, to like be really kind and respectful to like everybody in an outward way. And then of course you have to layer all these things inward and think about like where might you be like harming yourself before you even know. And I think I'm working really hard on getting rid of fears and structures that are kind of built up inside of me, but they show up sometimes. And when I was journaling this morning and I was thinking about it, a lot of what yoga philosophy is like we are all one. And so if I'm harming or judging my neighbor, I'm judging everybody and I'm judging myself. And so it's interesting to layer that the other way. Like if I'm fearful for myself and inwardly, then like I'm also fearful for everybody else. And I would think that was just a cool perspective that I thought was worth sharing to think about like even the things that like maybe you bring awareness on of yourself and like where might I be judging myself or fearing or holding myself back. It's like, okay, then you're holding everybody else back too. And it kind of like for me, I work so hard to not harm outward. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to hold anybody else back. So it almost like helps release that barrier on myself. And like, I don't want to keep that fear on myself because I want to be more free and I want everyone else to be free. I think that was really cool.
That's awesome. And what an unexpected perfect lead in to maybe a whole mind game. Do you want to play? Do you want to play the whole mind game? Do you know how
Let's
it works? Have you heard them and listened to them?
I have heard, I listened a little while ago, so I don't know if I like exactly remember, but I on purpose didn't listen right before because I didn't want to like, I like to, I didn't want to think about it too much before. I wanted to be fresh.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. It's like the concept or the way to play the game is so easy. So I'll just walk us through it. But it's funny you talking about the 40 days and the HIMSA and the nonviolence and the words that you brought up, like fear. Um, just like today, I'm writing, and I've been writing on this topic a while. Um, I seem to be writing another one today that's around the concept of fear and trust. And it's like I choose to trust and not fear, right? But then that kind of pits those two things against each other, like then fear and trust. So I literally wrote it right before our call. I said I haven't played the whole mind game with fear and trust.
Mm. That
So
is so crazy. I have to tell you the quote that I have written down above my kitchen sink.
okay,
I don't know. It's not, I feel bad because it doesn't have who the quote is by because I am not sure, but the quote is, I trust myself more than I fear what's next.
there you go.
So that's so crazy that you just said that.
Well, it's perfect. It's meant to be
Serendipitous. I
fear and
love that.
trust. So the thing about this game is we have to allow ourselves to think about the best quality or the best thing about both of the words because it feels like they're a choice. It's like I'm choosing trust and I'm choosing trust over fear.
Mm,
And the idea of the game is, well, when you have these two things, is there a way to choose the best of both? Is there a way to choose both, hold both simultaneously? And I also wrote I'd like be hypocritical if I said I've never felt fear before. Like I've never known fear, right? Like I choose trust over fear, but I certainly have been fearful, you know. So can I find what is the best of fear? So the game is I just ask it's 6 questions to get started, and then we have some wrap up things. But it's just what's the best and the worst of each word, um, and then what's the best of the best, and what's the worst of the worst. And we try to boil it down to the hard part is trying to boil it down to one word or a really short phrase,
mm.
and all thinking out loud. So all you can think out loud. It's not like a test. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just like exploring these words and having fun with it and seeing what happens. Um, So fear and trust. I'm gonna write these down. I take notes. You don't have to take any notes.
I brought my notes just in case
Oh,
something like this were to happen.
perfect. Uh, which word do you want to start with? Fear or trust?
Let's start with fear because it feels, I'm curious to see
Yeah.
what's the positives that are going to come out of it or what's the best side.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Like, what is the best thing about fear? When you think about it, what's the good side of fear? Can you think? Can you think of anything good about fear?
Yeah, I think there's maybe safety at some point that came from fear.
Hmm. Yeah, like fear leads to safety.
Yeah.
Um,
'Cause I feel like when you think about it, it like came from being chased by things or literally fearing for our lives. And it's like, okay, well, they don't act on fear, then I'm not going to be safe. It's like, well, my
right.
nervous system still thinks.
Yeah. So what's coming out for like literally being chased by things makes me feel like awareness is like I want to know what to steer clear of, right? Like if I'm afraid of a bear, I don't want to like accidentally like stroll up on a bear without noticing that they're there. Like if I'm afraid of snakes, I don't want to not see the snake on the trail, right? So
Or know that there's snakes there. That actually, it's like if you're feared, afraid of snakes, you maybe will know what snakes look like.
yeah, okay, so that's cool. So it's like awareness, but it's also like it's knowledge,
Preparation. Yeah.
preparation. Yeah, prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. The more prepared like fear is the can be a driver for preparation. Like, I'm afraid to go skiing, so I'm going to practice. I'm going to prepare for it by practicing on the bunny slopes or whatever. Yeah. So preparation, practice,
Information.
information. Yeah, just like learn about things. These are great. Safety awareness, prepared practice, information, learn. These are a lot of good things coming from fear. Anything else jumping out at you?
Hmm. I feel like I'm thinking about like even that kind of like the energy of fear, and like just that kind of like
Mm,
it's almost excited.
yeah, I think that we do a lot of stuff that's fun. Like I always I'm gonna write down fun, believe it or not. So fun
Ooh,
because
adrenaline.
yeah, you go to like the scary movies for fun, or you go on a roller coaster for fun. I was just telling the story about me being a kid, right? Like I was
Yeah.
afraid to go on these roller coasters, and then my friends were like, "Now that you know the reason, let's go do it. Let's go jump on these roller coasters." And I faced the fear, and it turned out that it was fun, you
Hmm.
know?
Probably still a little scary too, but
Yeah,
still
yeah, yeah, right, and
cool.
scary. Yeah, that excitement, that energy. Um, I used to be someone that froze given a public speech, and then I learned to kind of embrace that fear, and it became fun.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, the energy. Cool. Yeah, I didn't like right off the bat, I wasn't thinking like, oh, there's going to be a ton of good stuff to come from fear, but those are a bunch of good things.
Me neither. I'm surprised. I really wasn't when you said that. I was like, interesting. I was like, I'm open-minded. Let's see what comes out of it. But I
There's
really
nothing
wasn't
good from
like,
fear.
I was like, yeah, I've been working really hard to get rid of it, actually. Even when I think about teaching, I'm like, I'm, I use the word skited a lot. I'm like scared, excited because I want
Mhm.
to do it, but I'm afraid. And I think that it's, there's like a feeling that's like, I'm fearful, but like, I want to do it. It's hard to come up with a word to even describe that. Like, that like you got to do the scary things sometimes. It's not like bad fear. I feel like fear has this like bad rep.
Mhm.
It's interesting.
Yeah, the good fear, skited. I love it. You made up the word for it.
I didn't. I got it from a podcast.
You took it from somebody else's podcast.
Yeah.
Um, all right. What is the worst of fear?
Hmm. Limiting, isolation.
Yeah, isolation. That's what I think too.
About how we were talking about before, about how knowing all the answers and like how that like kind of like links with that isolation. And then like I wonder if it's fear driven. Small side comment. How often is like that, needing to know all the things.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great. So the word that comes to my mind when you say that is freeze or frozen, like, um, because to me it's like I think about the times when I froze giving because I didn't have the right answer. When I was in school and I'd be put up in front of the classroom and I was, supposed to recite something that I learned and I would freeze, but it has to do with this one right answer situation
Hmm.
and how freeing it is to to say, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forgot it.
I don't know. Let me get back to you.
Yeah.
Let me think about
Yeah.
it.
I need to look
Yeah.
that up. I need to read about that. Yeah, I do think that that one right answer is fear. I think it is fear driven, right? And I do feel like it's the layer of protection that other people put around. I mean, I think about the teacher, the kind of teacher that's more on the pedestal, the one that has all of the answers. On one side, they're making us afraid because we don't know the answer, but on the other side, I see them as they're actually the fearful one, and it's that ice they're building the isolation around themselves
Mhm.
because not knowing to them is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a fear is like a lack of information almost sometimes.
Yeah.
Ignorance comes up on the bad side of feared. I feel like I think of ignorance.
Yeah. I feel like it's what am I thinking about the worst of fear? I feel like the story that I'm telling, I don't have the word for it, but the story that I'm telling myself is like fear the dog and the dog bites, like fear the bee and the bee stings. It's like fear.
Like that self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like that, like, you mean like if you think it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen kind of a
I'm on a
thing.
different. It's more on the level that you in the yogic practice of if I'm feeling something to myself, then I'm actually feeling it for everyone
Mm,
around me. So like if I fear I'm actually making the dogs fearful, and so the
yeah.
dog is afraid, so then the dog attacks me, right? Because
Yeah.
now I'm a threat to the dog, right? And I had this conversation. I read a story about getting between a mama bear and its cubs in the woods. And it's crazy because Abby and I were I was going on this big mountain bike ride into the deep woods. And the day before, Abby's like, talking about bears, you're going to carry bear spray with you. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I said, I'm not going to carry bear spray with me because if I carry bear spray with me, that means I'm afraid of the bear. And if I'm afraid of the bear is going to attack me, like, so I choose to trust the bear. And it's like, this is crazy, and a lot of these words were coming up like, don't you want to be safe, be prepared, have awareness that there might be a bear, all this stuff. And lo and behold, the next day, I managed to ride my bike right up to like there was a mama bear in the woods and I stopped and I saw the bear. But what I didn't realize, and I heard this crazy noise, and it sounded like the smoke monster from Lost, if you've ever seen that show. It was like, and I was like, what the heck is that? And it was the cubs were climbing up the tree that I was standing under. So once I realized the situation, I'm like, oh shit, I'm literally between Mama Bear and the Cubs, you know?
Hmm.
And what's cool is I credit yoga, I credit meditation, I credit all of the practice because in that moment, I couldn't just choose to be calm. I couldn't just be like, no, I'm going to be calm. Like, I couldn't choose it. I just was it. And I was really calm. And I just looked at the mama bear and I was like, I'm your friend. I spoke out loud, like, I'm your friend. I want you to be, I want you to be with your babies, like, just, I'm gonna like move this, I'm gonna slowly move in this direction. I was just talking to the bear and she had her eyes on me the whole time. At one point she like moved towards me, but I didn't flinch or anything. And I kind of walked away from that situation thinking like, well, I didn't freeze, but it's this, I didn't impart my fear. I think if I was afraid of that bear. If I had gone for the bear spray in my pocket, I think she would have come right at me because
Mm.
I was between her cubs. But I trusted her and she trusted me and we got out and I walked
That's
away from that situation.
It's so crazy because as you're telling the story, I'm like, it doesn't sound like there's like a word to describe like the fear that we're looking for. It's like this is trust, which is just so ironic that it's the other side of the ladder that we're going to go towards. It's like even like the word that you're looking for, it's like fear the dog and the dog bites. It's like, but what if we trust the situation?
Yeah, trust the dog. Yeah, trust the dog, right. Yeah, I want to think about this word, right? So like if I fear the dog bites, it's like I'm gonna call it judgmental. Okay, so the reason why
Yeah.
so it's like if I'm carrying bear spray, it's like I've predetermined, I've judged the bear,
Yeah.
right? And then I think people, I don't know, there's certainly situations happen where innocent people get attacked by bears and innocent people get, hurt by unhealthy people and bad things happen. It's not like it's our own fault. It's not like it's our own fault when bad things happen. I don't want to go down that path. That being said, I feel like to fear someone is to be judging them before they've even acted.
Mm,
Like
mm.
I fear the bear because I'm assuming the bear is going to attack me, or I lock the doors on my house because I assume someone's going to break in. And
Yeah, or
so that
even
is,
like I fear teaching the yoga class because I assume maybe the people are going to judge me, or it's just so interesting how you can layer that.
right. Yeah. I fear being in the center of the yoga studio because I assume everyone's making fun of my silly looking frame, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to use it's fear
Cool.
is judgmental. Like those who fear, I believe, are judging. They're
Yeah.
judging the
Maybe it's
dog and
like
the.
they're judging because of a past scenario. Like it's not
Mhm.
always like there's no reason for the fear. Like a lot of the fear within me, it lives there because it was rooted for a reason. Like
Yeah.
something happened and all these things. So it's like interesting to like even understand that and then to rewire that is a whole other process, but
Hmm.
cool. That's a good one.
All right. Let's go to trust.
Okay.
What's the best to trust?
Connection.
Ooh, connection. Yeah, definitely.
Integrity is coming up for me.
Like free to just be open and vulnerable. It's just, yeah, freeing, I will say.
Hmm.
Wow, it's funny. We spouted out a whole bunch of good for fear.
I got one more. I got one more. I've got
Okay.
embodiment. I feel like embodiment comes up a lot because when you're trusting and you're embodied and
Embodiment.
grounded. Yeah.
I'll go, from yoga, I find that trust leads to like flexibility.
Mm.
Sometimes I I don't trust my knee or I don't trust I've had a couple of knee surgeries. I got an achy shoulder. It's like if I don't trust them, they seem to fail or get locked up, get like super tight and they hurt. But when I trust them, somehow the pain goes away and things become more flexible.
I mean, yeah, that's with like plans too, right? Like if
Hmm.
you plan for a trip and then you just trust it's gonna work out no matter what, and then you're more flexible and you can maybe do more things and be more adventurous.
Yeah, it's like moving to Raleigh. Just like I only
Yeah.
got 1 month's
You
rent.
trusted the universe on that one. Now look at me.
Yeah, you just like more easily pivot. Yeah. Um, feels more
Malleability.
so more creative. It's almost like it's more creative.
Yeah, definitely remember creativity. That's a good one. I think bravery.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it takes some kind of bravery to move to a place or to trust that things are going to work out.
Definitely, I guess, well, what I first thought of was like, maybe this is the bad side of trust, but what I first thought of was like that assimilation. And so then I was like, well, what's the other side of assimilation? It's like authenticity, which is fun because it's the podcast. So it's like when you trust and you don't want to like assimilate and be like everybody else, it's like there's individuality in that, which is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, trust being authentic or like individual or yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but I can see where you're getting that. All right. What's the worst side of trust?
This is maybe where I would say assimilation, like you trust the people and you just got to do what everybody else is doing. If it's like maybe not trusting yourself, but trusting the culture or the news sometimes.
Yeah, it's like I'm hearing like almost like a blind follow.
Yeah.
Just trust it. So I'm like, so you just like blindly follow the leader, trust the leader, and run
Yeah.
yourself right off the edge of the mountain or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, assimilation. Wow.
And even ignorance there too. If you're just trusting and you're not questioning.
Hmm. This happens a lot where the worst of each, like the worst of fear, the word ignorance came up, and the worst of trust, ignorance came up. It's like
Mm.
it kind of, I feel like this in this game, it happens a lot that the worst of the opposites end up leading to a similar space. A theme that I'm seeing pop up.
Interesting.
Yeah, the worst of trust, like get taken advantage of, I guess, right? Like put my trust in something or somebody, and then I get taken advantage of,
Yeah.
abused, you know.
Yeah. I feel like both of them were really outward. Like when you're thinking of them both and the negatives, they both are really like when you're layered over the outward perspective or
Ooh, but what when you turn it inward? The worst of inner trust.
isolation.
Ooh,
You don't trust anybody else.
yeah, the words come up again from both sides. Yeah, when I trust, you know what, like r realizing that my thoughts are not my own. Like
Mm.
realizing that my thoughts are not necessarily the genuine me, that I have conflicting thoughts, or the thoughts might be put into me, you know, like I don't know, it could be propaganda or it could be an advertisement, like I need another $1,000, cell phone. I have to have one,
Yeah.
like
That
it's
instant gratification piece of it and all of that. Yeah. That's Michael Singer. Not my thoughts. I'm the one that hears them.
not my thoughts. I'm the one that hears them, right? So I feel like inner trust could be trusting that the voice that I hear, just trusting the voice that I hear. To be like, it's
Yeah.
my voice, so I trust it. But what if the voice inside me is trying to hurt me,
Yeah.
trying to get me to do something that I shouldn't be doing? I forget if I said I forget who I said this to, but I'm like, I used to, wonder if the voice in my head was mine, but then, like I've got proof that the voice in my head is not always mine because sometimes it's Roger Daltrey.
And you're like, well, facts.
You ever get a song stuck in your head? That's not
Yeah.
you. That's,
That's such a good.
that's not your voice stuck in your
That's
head. That's somebody else's.
that's good. I always have songs stuck in my head. That's so funny.
I can't
Oh,
believe
I love that. That's so tangible.
Yeah. So, ooh, how do we describe that as a word? Like trusting yourself could be
It feels
the
kind of surfacey.
surfacey. Yeah, I was gonna say self-righteous.
Mm,
Like, like
yeah.
self-righteous. Like what I'm saying is right because it's me and I said it. So it's self-righteous.
Yeah.
But I'm like, just because I said it doesn't mean I know it or trust it. And then believing things, isn't it fun when you have believed something? It could be from like your childhood. I don't have a really good example right now, but like believing that the moon is made out of cheese or something, and then one day being like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like these realizations, like, oh,
What's the word? Is it maladaptive when you're not willing to adapt?
mm,
It's kind of sounds like that. It's like when you just are, because I grew up in a town that really lacked culture,
mm,
and a lot of people think a lot of things, and that was like I remember just like kind of, I was a kid, so I was like, these are the things that the grown-ups say in your life are like gospel. And so then you kind of grow up and you're like, is that true? And then you meet other people and you learn more cultures and you're like, wait a minute, not true.
mhm. Right. Yeah. Maladaptive. I like that. I like that as a worst of inner trust. If I just trust my inner voice all the time, then I don't have the opportunity to adapt or change or grow.
Yeah,
Um, so it's like stuck.
yeah,
It's like,
stuck. So simply put.
yeah. All right, this is the fun part. So we're gonna
Narrow
do,
it down.
yeah, as if the other part wasn't fun. We're gonna do the best of the best and the worst of the worst. What I like to do here is kind of try to not think about the two original words and just look at the words that we came up with and see if we find some interesting synergy with them. You know, it's not like we're
Hmm.
not allowed to think of the original words, but it's just
Well, I'm not going to. They're
uh,
gone.
so I like to do the best of the best and then the worst of the worst. So the best of the best, we said things like safety, awareness, prepared, practice, learn, excitement, energy, fun. We said connection, integrity, it's freeing, flexible, creative, brave, authentic. It's a bunch of words, bunch of good words.
It's hard for awareness not to be my favorite one.
Awareness.
I'm such an awareness girl. I think that awareness is the name of the game a lot of the time.
So let's look at awareness as the best of one side. And then does one jump out at you from connection, integrity, freeing, embodiment, flexible, creative, brave?
Hmm. Torn between creativity and embodiment.
I liked creativity a lot too. So then if we look at creativity and awareness as like two, you know, two things. Like what is creativity and awareness? What does it sound like? What does creative awareness sound like?
Mm.
Creative awareness. What it's making me think of, I don't have a word for it right yet, but in my brainstorming practices, I do a lot of teaching about understanding the problem that we're going to solve is the hardest part of the whole thing. Like the idea of just brainstorming solutions when we don't know what the problem is. Kind of want to understand that problem really, really well, have it defined, have the problem defined really, really well, and then be creative around that.
Mm.
So it's like it's curiosity and wonder. It's like instead of just brainstorming, more in a state of wonder.
Yeah, wonder. Curiosity feels really true too. It's just when I think about curiosity, like it's so powerful of the awareness and the ability to be creative with that awareness and shift it around and mold it and figure out what, like when you're in a pottery class and you know what maybe you can do with the clay, but then you have a creative approach and you just kind of go with whatever comes out. I feel like there's like such a beautiful curiosity that comes from that. It's cool. Or wonder.
Well, it's what were your stages in coaching? What was like the first stage was what?
Awareness.
Awareness. And then the second stage,
Perception.
perception. And then the next stage,
Resilience. Nope.
resilience,
Regulation and then resilience.
regulation, then resilience.
Hmm.
It's like grounded in that awareness, so it's almost like becoming aware to then open ourselves up to the possibilities. So it's like part of your coaching practice in many ways, this creative awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. That's cool. And even like identifying with it and then being willing to shift it. It's like, okay, I can really understand that. And then I can even think about how I feel about it and then how it feels in my body. But like, what do I want to do about it?
Yeah, what do I want to do about it? It's like there's an infinite number of things to do about it, but to be aware of it first awareness is the key to unlock that creativity.
Yeah.
I just like creative awareness. I mean, it's the best of
Yeah.
both.
I do too. I think it's great. I think that's such a good little phrase.
Yeah. All right. Worst of the worst. We'll pick one on. So we had limiting, isolation, frozen, ignorance, judgmental, assimilation, blind following, ignorance, getting taken advantage of, abused, isolation, self-righteous, maladaptive, stuck.
Mm. Maladaptive feels important.
Maladaptive on one side, and the other side is limiting, isolation, frozen, ignorant, judgmental.
Judgmental.
Yeah, maladaptive, judgmental. Like I'm unwilling to change and I'm judgmental. Nope, the bear's gonna attack me.
I feel like that's where maladaptive comes from almost. Like it's like the judgment that like your way is right, which
Yeah.
your way is right, then what is that? Like inadvertently means that everyone else is wrong. It's
Mm. Yeah, ignorance came up on both sides of this. Ignorance came up on both
mm,
sides.
feel like maladaptive is a form of ignorance, and so is judgment a lot of the times too. When you're thinking about judgment, maybe it's a lack of knowing or understanding.
Yeah, I'm looking at the words that came up on both sides.
Mm.
Isolation came up on both sides. Ignorance, judgmental, and maladaptive. What is that? I don't want
Doesn't
to
it
be.
kind of feel like ignorance?
Yeah,
They both just kind of together. I feel like that's what they are when I first think about them both.
yeah, yeah.
Or, thinking, because I feel like when you think about both like the maladaptive piece and the ignorance piece, like oftentimes it's I've been tying my shoes this way forever, and it's the best way to tie my shoes, and it's just awesome. And my shoes are tied, and then it's like, but your shoes come untied all the time, and it takes longer.
Hmm.
And it's like if you just, learned this new way to tie your shoes, it'd be faster, and they would stay tied. It's
Right.
like obviously a silly scenario, but it's like funny to think about it. Like it's so simple.
Yeah. I mean, all these words I want to steer clear of: isolation, ignorance, maladaptive, and judgmental.
Hmm. Qualities I don't want to see in myself.
Qualities I don't want to see in myself. Exactly. All right. The last part is a little brainstorming. So we came up with creative awareness as the best of the best. So the idea is like, how many wa try to think of a couple of ways that you could be or exemplify creative awareness.
Hmm. Ways that I could be or exemplify.
Or create it or do it or live it, you know.
Yeah. Mm. I feel like being a yoga teacher really embodies that.
I think it does too. I think being a yoga teacher absolutely embodies that because you're becoming an expert in the practice, and then you're putting together like very creative sequences,
Mm.
right? So absolutely being a yoga teacher.
Yeah, and having to like change and shift around depending on who's in the room. Like, are there new people in the room that don't really know what's going on? Do I need to demo some more? Or are there a bunch of people who are really advanced and maybe I could add a challenging posture for them to feel more challenged or slow the practice down so it feels more challenging? Like, I feel like there's so many different ways you could be creative in front of the room.
And the awareness is key to all those things,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to see who's in the room and react to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that awareness, yeah, I love that.
I always think when I think of creative awareness too, I feel like when asking questions, because I feel like if you're sitting in silence, you're agreeing and yeah, you're just going along with it. But if you're asking questions and you're trying to figure things out, you're trying to develop an awareness, but you're like maybe you're asking creative questions or being open-ended.
Yeah, I feel like it's like learning something. I was thinking about one of the things that was coming to my mind is I'm learning how to play the guitar. It's not like I don't know how to play the guitar. I just started before Christmas. And it's the idea that it would be incredible to create music, like to make it, to write a song, you know,
Mm,
or to create music on the guitar. But I really can't do it without first learning the thing, like learning it and that awareness, uh, just being aware. I didn't now I know the C major chord. I know what string makes what sound and where I put my finger on the fret, and it's super basic. I'm like, I'm in a hot cross buns world of playing the guitar. So it's,
Yeah, but you had to know how to tune the guitar, like all of that stuff, I'm sure, right? How to make it sound
yeah,
right.
right. Yeah. Day one, it was like, all right, I'm doing online lessons with this guy, Justin Guitar. And it's like, yeah, day one, it's like, let's learn how to tune your guitar. What are the six strings on the guitar, and
Mhm.
so all of this awareness, I'm building up more and more awareness around it. And the more awareness I build around it, the more I can start to see how I can become creative with it,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, that reminded me of learning how to do handstands. Like I'm developing a body awareness and I'm developing the muscles that actually hold me while I'm upside down. And for me, like doing handstands and inversions is such a form of creativity because it's just such a different expression. Obviously, you're typically on your feet, so it's like this whole different creative posture to be in.
Yeah, I love that. Yoga again, I mean, body awareness and how to creatively get into a position.
Mm,
Yeah, I forget. We were doing one sequence. I think it was M was doing one sequence where you kind of you had to stand from a position that seemed like impossible to stand from. Like it felt like you had to like launch yourself. Like it was this like super physically demanding like grunt like you know and class after class after class I became aware of, wait a second, like if I just slowly tilt myself until I'm about to fall down, like I feel like I'm gonna fall, I just can stand with like
mm,
no effort at all. And it was like, how did I move from it being this incredibly difficult, full of effort to this effortless move? Started with the awareness and then being creativity, just sort of like playing around with
mm.
where is my body going to fall, and then realizing that it would just stand up on its own in one position.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool how much yoga is just can be translated off the mat. I just think it's the coolest.
Agreed. All right. Well, the challenge for everyone, all of us, is think about creative awareness and and where can we find that in our lives? Like, how can we move when we see opportunities for creative awareness, yoga, guitar, whatever it is, that's moving towards the best of these two, opposing, seemingly opposite things. We can move towards that. And if we're feeling isolated, ignorant, judgmental, maladaptive, if we're like don't want to change our minds, then
Mm,
that's like heading towards the worst of these things.
yeah, that's good. That's good. It's like you gotta have the awareness in the first place to even know you're in those places. I think awareness is just the bottom line, you know?
We could just start right there, which is exactly where things start in the coaching,
Yeah.
right? Awareness. All right. Yeah, I love that.